So the stuff with George was not the biggest thing in the news this week. The other was some of the adaptations have not been doing that well. And did you want to talk about Wheel of Time or Last of Us first? Which one do you want to do?
Let's talk about Wheel of Time briefly, and then we'll get into The Last of Us.
So the Wheel of Time got canceled, and this is the part where people get on my case for saying this, because I can already smell, I can feel the dislikes in the force on this video. But I'm sorry, but it deserved to be canceled.
Really?
This is not like the 90s where you could make 26 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation on a child's allowance. Like, this is not the olden days, you know? Because Star Trek The Next Generation fans love to tell me that, oh yeah, just watch a couple episodes from the first 3 seasons. They kind of suck. It really gets good in season 4. In the 90s, you could afford to do that. Nowadays, where everything costs an arm and a leg, no shot. No shot. And I'm actually fucking surprised they went as far as season 3, with season 1 and 2 being so mediocre. But no, everything just costs so much money now that you don't have the luxury anymore of having 1 or 2 mediocre seasons of television and then out of nowhere it gets good in season 4. Because things, like I said, things cost so much money nowadays that you either come out the gate a 10 out of 10 or a 9 out of 10 or don't bother. Because at that point, you're wasting my time, you're wasting the network's time and their money, and you're just wasting money in general. And before anybody says it, there are plenty of shows out here who had phenomenal first seasons, especially adaptations from showrunners who are adapting book to screen and not trying to do their own thing, which is very important.
Right.
This is something George R.R. Martin himself has complained about multiple times, specifically in the Adaptation Tango blog post, that these showrunners come in here and try to make it their own, and they end up fucking up everything for everybody. So George was right.
It's true that it was very ambitious to start, and Amazon was throwing a lot of money at it. And it's one of these things where I can't believe it got greenlit in the first place and that they were throwing all this money at it in the first place. But at the same time, you go this far, you should go a little further. You know, you should not just like do 3 seasons and be done. I mean, Amazon, you got infinite money. You know, you're people get Amazon Prime not because of your shows. People get Amazon Prime because of Whole Foods and all this other stuff, and like free shipping on their packages and stuff like that. So it's a weird model. Like it's not the same as Disney or HBO where you're actually like, people get your streaming service specifically because they want to watch these shows. You know, Amazon is something everybody already has. No one's signing up. Like honestly, like, would anybody sign up for like yes, there are shows like The Boys and Invincible that people really like. But who subscribes to Amazon Prime for their streaming service? 0 people in the world. Nobody gets Amazon Prime for the shows. So why do they even worry about it? Why do they even worry? I don't get it, you know?
I wonder if Netflix will pick up Wheel of Time, because Stranger Things is ending this year, so what else are they going to have?
It's too expensive. It
is too expensive. And also,
expensive.
I hate that these showrunners are making me do this, but I sympathize with Jeff Bezos in the sense where the guy basically said to these guys, to his people, he goes, "All right, give me Game of Thrones." And they're like, "Well, we can't give you Game of Thrones, but we can get you something close to it." And he goes, "Okay, give me that." And they gave him, like, not even what he asked for. Like, he didn't ask for Wheel of Time specifically, but they're like, "We can give you Wheel of Time." Okay, fine, give me Wheel of Time. And they kind of gave him Wheel of Time. Because Wheel of Time fans, our friend Amber, they'll tell you that this is not really Wheel of Time. It's showrunners coming in and kind of doing their own thing. Again, harkening back to George R.R. Martin, who has complained about this extensively. Even in his most recent interview with what's the man's name? Abercrombie?
Joe Abercrombie, yeah.
Abercrombie. Even he complained about it in that fucking interview with Joe. These are showrunners and their ego thinking they can do their own thing and they can leave their mark on it. And to be fair, that kind of worked out for Dave and Dan. Because Dave and Dan in the first few seasons of Game of Thrones kind of did their own thing. They switched stuff around and it worked. You know?
Yeah.
what are you going to do? But sometimes it doesn't, and in this case, it doesn't. So I don't blame Jeff Bezos for coming in there and canceling this. Though I'm sure he's probably punching the air right now in anger, realizing he can't cancel Rings of Power because that you already paid for 5 seasons.
They already paid their sunk cost fallacy.
Yeah.
Look, Wheel of Time is a very interesting series because every Wheel of Time fan knows its flaws and talks about its flaws all the time. But at the same time, even though they understand it's very flawed, they love it anyway. And there's usually a very emotional reason for it. Like, you know, they got into it in high school. It was the first series that opened up fantasy for them. There's usually something about that. But this is very different than, say, when you talk to a Lord of the Rings fan, who many of them believe that everything Tolkien ever wrote was perfection, and that every line of the Lord of the Rings is perfection, you know. Or there's a lot of people that just who look at Ice and Fire and then they think that like everything that George has ever written is perfection, and they refuse to see any flaws in anything that he's done. I find this all the time. If I like criticize a paragraph and say it's clunky, like the number of negative comments I get from people saying like, who are you to say that it's clunky? I think it's a great paragraph. I'm just like, look, he's got great paragraphs. This is not one of, you know, like it's, I've never met a Wheel of Time fan who was just like, who just thought it was so untouchable. Like with Lord of the Rings or Ice and Fire or even Harry Potter. Like I know people that are just they love every word of Harry Potter and they refuse to see like the downsides of it. So I do think it's fascinating though, because Wheel of Time people know that they love this series, but they understand that it's an imperfect series, that they were a little looser with looser with accepting the adaptation. Like, okay, I understand that you've got to do this differently and this differently, but they were still pretty upset because season 1 strays really far tonally from the source material. But you know, they really liked season 2 and 3. Even though certain changes are made, they kind of understand when changes are made, you know. Okay, I see what they're doing there. You know, you don't get any of these you know, they've ruined everything and they're raping the material kind of comments as much, and which is refreshing because they kind of accept the Wheel of Time as a little more, you know, it's got its imperfections and it's so long and it's so many characters that you have to change things, you know.
No, I understand that. Dave and Dan did it with Game of Thrones. I get it. It's just
yeah. And I get as well, like, you know, the big thing is everybody's fine if you change it if it's good.
That's true. If it's good, if it's good. If it's bad,
if it's good, if it's good, you know. So yeah, no, I watched Wheel of Time up. You know, I watched up through I watched the 3 seasons. It was definitely improving. It was definitely getting better as a show. There were some solid episodes in season 3. It's sad that at this point it gets canceled. Like when you're like, oh man, this has gotten good. This is like a real fucking good show now. Season 3, it did it, and then it's gone. You know, a lot of series that aren't good until season 3. Seinfeld isn't good until season 3.
I don't know about that. I love Seinfeld throughout.
Next Generation isn't good until season 3. Deep Space Nine isn't good until season 3.
I agree.
A lot of shows aren't good until season 3.
Yeah. No, there's quite a few shows where it's okay until season 3. For me, True Blood, seasons 1 and 2 were fine. Season 3 was great, and then after season 3, it's down.
Oh, it's just atrocious. It's like embarrassing. It's so embarrassing.
No, I'm wondering if Netflix is going to pick it up, because, you know, Netflix is the king of fucking up adaptations with The Witcher.
Look, I really wish they could, but they can't. They just, I think the cost was way too high, and who knows if you know, rights were bought and who still owns rights and things like that. So it's too bad. It's too bad.